It's a regular session of the City of Crescent City City Council meeting to order on August, was it day 3rd? August 3rd, 2015. And first thing we're going to ask, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. Can you please take roll?
Councilmember Hawley?
I'm here.
Councilmember Enscore?
Here.
Councilmember Murray? Here. Pro Tem Mania?
Here.
Mayor Gastineau?
Here. And I will lead today's Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so first thing on our agenda, item number 1, we have some acknowledgments. First one, item number 1, an acknowledgment of the City Council of the City of Crescent City declaring August 15th, 2015 as National Kids Day, and Mr. Enscore is going to read that acknowledgment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas with more than 130 years of expertise on helping children facing crisis, Kids Peace created National Kids Day as an annual event on the national calendar to honor and celebrate the inherent value and worth of children. And whereas National Kids Day is an opportunity to celebrate childhood, to demonstrate our commitment to nurturing children, to inspiring our nation, our communities, and our families to love and appreciate children, and to prepare our children for a healthy, happy, successful future. And whereas National Kids Day challenges parents and caregivers to take time out of their busy schedules and make a date with their kids to do something that builds, bonds, trust, love, and growth for the future. And whereas National Kids Day seeks to inspire parents and caregivers to take the time to communicate their commitment to children through the gift of meaningful time, now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Crescent City do hereby designate August 15th, 2015 as National Kids Day in Crescent City, and urge all citizens to join us and encourage all adults to spend more meaningful time with children and to build a community of strong, resilient, happy children who know that they are loved by caring adults and can enjoy just being kids. Signed by our Mayor, Ron Gastineau.
Thank you.
I will just mention, we don't have anybody here, but we do have an event scheduled for August 15th in Beachfront Park. It is a collaborative effort of some local churches along with our County Health and Human Services Department. We're going to be providing a family day in the park where we will be providing backpacks and back-to-school supplies. The medical clinic will be there. There's all kinds of activities that will be family-friendly. Lunch will be served from 12 to 2, and so it's a great opportunity for our community to come and enjoy some services as well as some entertainment and a free meal and get some back-to-school supplies for your children. And so we're doing that and I'm part of that stakeholders group that's involved in that, and so we're just pleased to be offering that to our community, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent.
And I will present this to the group this week.
Excellent. And as mayor, I declare that day will be perfect weather for you guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is
my official job.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, an acknowledgement of the City Council of the City of Crescent declaring August 2nd through 8th, 2015 as National Farmers Market Week, which will be this week. And Ms. Murray is going to read that acknowledgement.
With pleasure. Whereas farmers markets are important outlets for agricultural product producers nationwide, providing them with increased opportunities to meet consumer demand for a variety of fresh, affordable, convenient, and healthful products sold directly from the farm. And whereas farmers markets play a key role in developing local and regional food systems that support the sustainability of family farms, revitalize rural communities, and provide opportunities for farmers and consumers to interact. And whereas farmers markets increasingly offer electronic benefit transfer technology for use by Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program recipients in redeeming their benefits and also offer opportunities for low-income women, infants and children, and seniors participating in the WIC and Senior Farmers Market nutrition programs respectively to redeem their benefits. And whereas the U.S. Department of Agriculture recognizes the myriad benefits of farmers markets for producers and consumers, and is fully committed to supporting farmers markets' continued success through grants, technical assistance, directories, and more. Now, therefore, to further awareness of farmers markets' contributions to American life, we, the City Council of the City of Crescent City, do hereby designate August 2nd through 8th, 2015 as National Farmers Market Week, and encourage our residents to celebrate and support our farmers markets. Signed by Ron Gastineau, Mayor. And we do have someone here to accept this. Joan Bueller.
I would like to, Joan Bueller, I'm Vice President of BID, and I would just like to thank the City Council for this. It's an acknowledgement, and actually the Wednesday market has been the one shining star in BID's, their history, and it's been very good, and we hope it can continue. I'm sorry that our President couldn't be here, but I'm here, and we have our Treasurer here also. So thank you all very much. We appreciate this.
Thank you, Joan. And I would say that the farmers market is a shining star, but not BID's only shining star. Okay, next on our agenda is the consent calendar. We have 4 items on there. Number 3, excuse me, approval of the regular meeting minutes from the July 20th, 2015 council meeting. Receive and file the warrant claims list for the period July 11th, 2015 through July 24th, 2015. Receive and file the biweekly payroll report for the periods ending July 25th, 2015, paid on July 31st, 2015. And 6, consider and adopt resolution number 2015-36, a resolution urging the state to provide new sustainable funding for state and local transportation infrastructure and consideration of joining the Fix Our Roads Coalition. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing no public comment on the consent calendar, we'll bring it back to the council. Any discussion?
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out one minor correction on, well, it depends on who you are, I guess. On page 6, it talks about City Manager Holly added something. It's on the 2nd paragraph, and unless I can get your paycheck, I'd like to have that changed. City Council Member Holly. Okay?
Double dippy.
Thank you.
In the minutes.
Yeah, in the minutes. All right. Anything else? Yes?
On item number 6, I would like to suggest that we send, should we adopt this resolution 2015-36, that we send copies to Senator McGuire, Assemblyman Wood, and Congressman Huffman. And the reason being for Congressman Huffman is that the Congress seems to be kicking the transportation bills down the road time and again, and so I thought that maybe that would be helpful for him to have in his hand, and I thought it would be nice for our state representatives to know that we had passed the resolution. And I do have one question or comment about that Fix Our Roads that was attached to the resolution, and I agree with the strong accountability concept and the requirements that they were talking about, but I'm not quite certain that I agree with creating an inspector general in item number 6 for the accountability. I'm not sure if that's just my own personal comment for, seems like, I don't know if that would necessarily help with
Just more bureaucracy.
more bureaucracy. I don't know if that would necessarily help with the accountability, but that's not part of the resolution, but just that my take on it. So those are my comments.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Gaston, I'd like to move we approve the consent calendar, item 3 through 6.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Please pull the vote.
Councilmember Holly?
Yes.
Councilmember Inscore?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Pro Tem Mania,
Yes.
Mayor Gastineau.
Yes, thank you. That
And
passes.
does everyone agree to send copies?
Yes.
Yes.
Council Fiat also.
So,
Yes.
councils has definitely, yes, want to send copies of the resolution to Senator
Yes,
Wood,
we'll do that.
McGuire, and Congressman Huffman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no reports or presentations. Coming on to communications, we got the public comment period. Any member of the audience is invited to address the city council on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the city of Crescent City. Comments on the public interest, comments of public interest on matters appearing on the agenda are accepted. Note, however, that the council is not able to undertake extended discussion or act on non-agendized items. Such items can be referred to staff for appropriate action, which may include placement on a future agenda. Any comments that are not at the microphone are out of order and will not be part of the public record. After receiving recognition from myself, please state your name and city or county residency for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir. Come on.
My name is Bruce Diley. Just leaving extra copies for the council members. And I'm speaking on public safety, but I wanted to clarify very quickly. I spoke at the commissioners meeting this past week, and I spoke of a loitering incident where I was mistakenly identified as being a loiterer when I wasn't. And I wanted to make it clear that it was not the Safeway manager that confronted me for being a loiterer, but it was the building manager, the entire building complex that Safeway is in. So it's the manager that oversees all of those buildings. He was the one that was in plain clothes and mistakenly thought I was a loiterer. And in fact, it was the Safeway employees, one of the cashiers, she said, I heard the whole thing. She said, she agreed with me, and she was like, he was totally in the wrong. And so the Safeway employees were actually very nice to me regarding it. So I wanted to make that clear, that it wasn't the Safeway manager, but the complex manager. And on public safety, I wanted to point out, regarding Alcoholics Anonymous being court-ordered, I just wanted to object to that and clarify, too, that the AA is being court-ordered, and people show up there, and when they show up, the first thing that they're told is that AA is a spiritual program, that it's not religious. I've been involved in AA for a really long time, and I found out that in AA's own literature and the therapeutic mechanism of Alcoholics Anonymous in particular, that has Dr. William Silkworth and Harry Tybout, along with Harry Emerson Fosdick, they have quotes that refer no less than 11 times within a 20-page span of AA being religious, very clearly that they say it's religious. So that's AA's own literature that says that. Why that's important is that the Serenity Prayer that AA opens up with is the Protestant theologian Reinhold Niebuhr was the author of that. And when you pull up an interview with Reinhold Niebuhr and Mike Wallace from April 27th, 1958, you can pull that up online. And Niebuhr ends with a quote where he says that, so one of the basic democratic principles as we know it in America is the separation of church and state. So that's the very author of the Serenity Prayer pointing out that there's a separation of church and state, and that people should not be, he didn't say this, but my point is that people should not be court-ordered AA because it is religious. And my final point on this is that what's worse is that now that this has been going on this has been going on since the 1930s, and it hasn't stopped DUI. DUIs continue. So it hasn't been effective in stopping DUI. So regarding public safety, it hasn't worked. What it's done is it's opened the door because people have allowed this to go on. Now a place called Celebrate Recovery is court-ordering people to attend their meetings. And they're explicitly religious because they're held in the church. They do Bible verses. They put Bible verses up on a screen. And you go in and there's all these court-ordered young people in there, and they're court-ordered for alcohol and drug addiction problems. And they're forced into a religious thing by the government. And so it's getting worse, is my thought. And we don't, as poor people, we don't have any representation, I don't feel. This is allowing to happen. I've spoken about this in city councils all over the place, because I got lung cancer. I've been driving around the western states, living in my van. And I brought this up to city councils in various places. And it's just, it just keeps going on. They just do it anyhow. And there's no representation to put a stop to it. But it's a major, major deal with our Constitution and poor people having their rights just completely trampled upon. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? No, see no other public comment. We'll close public comment. We'll go on to our next items. Public hearings, we have no public hearings, but we do have some continuing business. Item number 7, waive full reading, read by title only, and adopt ordinance number 788 of the City Council of the City of Crescent City amending Chapter 13.17 Water Conservation of Chapter 13 Public Services of the Crescent City Municipal Code to reference the Water Shortage Contingency Plan as a standalone document. Take action as necessary and appropriate. Mr. Palazzo.
Yeah, Mayor, members of the council, we discussed this item at the last meeting. This is the second reading. Really what it does is it decouples our water shortage contingency plan from the ordinance. We plan on bringing that water shortage contingency plan back to the city council at our next meeting for review and adoption. So tonight, you just recommend, hold public comment and adopt, waive full reading and read by title this ordinance.
Great. Any questions, council? Any public comment on this item? See no public comment, bring it back. Any more discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we consider and adopt Resolution 2015-36.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I have the wrong one there. Let me go back a little bit. If somebody else wants to make a motion, they can.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we waive full reading and read by title only and adopt ordinance number 788 of the City of Crescent City Council of Crescent City and amending Chapter 13.17 Water Conservation of Title 13 Public Services of the Crescent City Municipal Code.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Can you please pull a vote?
Councilmember Holly?
Yes.
Councilmember Inscore?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Pro Tem Mania?
Yes.
Mayor Gastineau?
Yes, thank you. That passes unanimously. Here we go. Okay, on to item number 8, new business. Consider and authorize city manager to submit a loan pre-application to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, rural development for the purposes of obtaining grant and/or debt financing for capital improvement projects in the water system. Take action as necessary and appropriate. Hello, Mr. Palazzo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item before you is a follow-up from our 2013 water rate study, which the city undertook, which took a look at a 5-year financial plan and adopting our water rates. When we did that, we anticipated additional capital improvements that are needed for our water system, and when we did the rate structure, we decided that we would be financing a lot of these long-term capital improvements to try and keep those rates as low as possible to our customers. At this time, we've been in discussions with USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, and they have grant and loan programs. A portion of it is grant programs, a portion of it is loan, and they kind of combine those together. They've asked us, we've talked to them about some of our major water infrastructure projects that are within our capital improvement plan, and they've asked us to submit a pre-application. Tonight, what we're asking the council to do is authorize staff to submit that pre-application. It's really the first step in discussions, with USDA to see if, there's a match, if one, we want to, go through their program and possibly get a grant or loan, combination, with USDA, and for them as well to see if, we meet their program requirements. So, right now, the first priority would be to, submit that pre-application. They would come up to Crescent City, take a look at our projects, kind of do an evaluation. And as we go through those steps, I'll come back to the council and inform you, what our recommendation to either proceed or not proceed would be. In the staff report, we outline, the infrastructure projects, the Washington Amador tank rehabilitation projects, the Blackwell Lane Transportation Main Interconnection Project, the Kings Valley Road Redundant Transmission Main Project, and the Meter Replacement and Telemetry Project. In all, we have approximately $6.5 million worth of projects that are identified within the plan. These are real important projects for our water system and in order to move forward. So what I ask the council tonight is, to authorize us to enter into a pre-app or submit a pre-application to USDA.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Palazzo?
As part of the pre-app process, do you have to provide them with some potential projects such as you have for us in the staff report, as far as what specifics the money that you're looking to use it for?
These would be the projects that we would be submitting to USDA.
Okay.
For a request to take a look in offering grants / loans. Typically, in my understanding on how the USDA projects work, is they'll take a look at the projects. They'll look at our community, the need, and kind of evaluate if they can offer a portion of a loan, like $6 million, possibly provide a portion of that as a grant. In the staff report, they've offered up to 45%, but generally don't exceed $1 million in grant kind of financing, lack of a better term, for these types of projects. So these would be the specific projects we would be working with them on and seeing how they rank with their application process.
So would USDA then have the authority to say, yes, we will loan you / grant you money for the transmission line project, but not for the rehabilitation of the Amador tank? I mean, is that kind of how this could work?
That could happen, yes. Okay.
The other question that I have is do you have an idea of what the time frame is for the pre-application process? It may have been in there, but I didn't see that in the staff report.
Yeah, I don't know if that made it into the staff report, but I'll go off the top of my head. If we get this authorization from the council tonight in September, USDA will be in our community taking a look at our projects.
Good.
We would work with them probably through the fall if we decide.
Strengthen our proposal, all of our projects that we'd already identified, do you think, in matching with the strategic plan? Is that somehow going to strengthen our application, do you suppose?
Yeah, they'll probably look at us, it's more of a, like a bank would look at it, offering a loan, or, do we have the ability to pay back a loan based on our rate structure? They're going to look at our ability to, and I think what you're getting at is our ability to perform and, put the projects in place and make it happen.
Okay, I was just thinking if we'd already identified these projects quite a while ago and we have it in our strategic plan, so we've already been anticipating that we need it, it might strengthen our proposal. I don't know,
Yeah, I can ask them that when they're here,
Yeah,
kind of look at the evaluation process.
Yeah, give us more points or whatever. I was just hoping so. This seems like a great opportunity for us.
And it's really not, it's not really like a grant ranking like you do with CDBG. It's going to be more of a, loan. Are we able to pay, make those payments back? Are we credible?
Our credit rating
like
scores?
Our credit rating
okay.
score.
That's how they score
that
it?
type of thing. They're going to look and see if we're able to make those payments back based on our rate structure.
Okay, so it's more of a credit rating scoring then?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
That's probably a better way to describe it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, public comment. Is there any public comment on this issue for the city to go into a pre-application with the USDA for capital improvement on our water system? See no public comment. Bring it back into the council. Any other questions for Mr. Palazzo? Discussion in the council? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we authorize the city manager to submit a loan pre-application to the USDA for the rural development for the purposes of obtaining a grant and or debt financing for our capital improvement projects within the water system.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we please have the vote poll?
Councilmember Holly?
Yes.
Councilmember Inscore?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Pro Tem Mania?
Yes.
Mayor Gastineau.
Yes, and that passes unanimously. On item number 9, under new business, consider and authorize city manager to sign a professional services contract with Adams Ashby to assist in the grant and/or debt financing application. Take action as necessary and appropriate. Mr. Palazzo.
And that's a follow-up to the item that was just approved by the city council. Ms. Ashby has a lot of good contacts with USDA, has worked on these types of grants before, and we'd like to bring her on board to help assist us in putting together this grant application and loan package for USDA and working with USDA. So we'd request that you approve that contract.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Palazzo?
No, just comment that we've had Lori Adams work with us on many other projects, and she's always done a great job for us, so.
Yeah, I think my only comment is that the rate that you'd be charging is pretty reasonable. I don't know when we've had a consultant that would do something for $3,500. But if you take it and you take a look at the number of hours, she'll only allows for about 44 hours. So that'll be some hard, quick work on her
Yeah,
behalf.
we're going to be working with USDA, and if we need additional dollars, I'll come back to the council.
Great. Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, bring it back. Do we have any more comments or questions from the council? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we authorize the city manager to sign a professional services contract with Adams Ashby Group, Inc. to assist in this pre-application to the USDA for the rural development for the purposes of obtaining this grant and/or debt financing for our capital improvement projects within our water system.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please pull the vote.
Councilmember Holly?
Yes.
Councilmember Inscore?
Yes.
Councilmember Murray?
Yes.
Pro Tem Mania?
Yes.
Mayor Gastineau.
Yes, and that passes unanimously. On to item number 10, report and discussion on the Cultural Center. Take action as necessary and appropriate. Mr. Palazzo.
Get to do all the presentations tonight. It's a pleasure. Members of the council. This report was requested by the city council at the May 18th council meeting. When we brought our fee and rate structure to the city council, the cultural center's fees and rates were questioned, and it was staff direction to bring back kind of a big picture of the cultural center, what other facilities are being charged, how they compare with our existing cultural center fees. I thought we'd take the opportunity to kind of look at the big picture of the cultural center. And I do want to thank staff. Had a lot of assistance in putting together this packet. Ms. Scott, Vanessa in the Public Works Planning Department, Eric Weir and all that had a lot of input in putting this together. The overall cultural center, we wanted to analyze again the fee structure, but I wanted to provide a little bit of history. The cultural center was built in 1972. It was really built on donations of the community and a donor for the lumber. It's about 12,500 square feet, and it's really kind of an icon for the community. It's a great location. A lot of weddings and festivals or parties have been held there. I think everybody in the community at one time or another has been to that cultural center. I believe Councilmember Neal was married there back in the day, right? There you go. So, but unfortunately, like all facilities, if you don't maintain them and keep them up, they deteriorate. And the cultural center hasn't had that upkeep and maintenance like it should. There was a report back in 1994, got my date correct here, that really highlighted and outlined some upgrades and upkeep that the cultural center needed to be done in that day. A lot of that's never been completed. There have been a few things done over the years, and we tried to highlight that within the staff report. Some new roof, carport shelter replacement, new deck on the second floor. We've replaced some lights to LED lights recently. but we haven't done a whole lot. The facility, the ADA upgrades, a lot of cost savings, such as the heat pump in the system is the original heat pump. There's, when you turn that on, it heats the entire center. It's not separated with any sort of zones. So if the Chamber of Commerce, who's a tenant in the Cultural Center, wants to turn the heat on, we're heating the entire facility, not just, their offices. And they've been very conscientious to not turn that heat on all the time. It typically gets turned on before events, but it does take a lot to heat the building. Meeting amenities, the furniture, the tables are probably the original furniture and tables. Kind of outdated, antiquated, heavy, really difficult for staff to maneuver around. Kitchen upgrades, the stove isn't working at this point. I don't know that, has it been fixed? Not yet. So stove is still out of commission. I think we used to rent dishes and silverware and that type of thing. We don't do that anymore. There are still some dishes in there, but they're in I think they're original dishes from '72. So we don't do any charging for that. Audio equipment has kind of gone. There was no audio equipment in there at this point. It's been kind of ended up not working, so it doesn't exist. Revenues in the Cultural Center, and we went back 4 years or so, and there's some really good charts in this packet for the City Council to take a look at, the revenues and then the expenses. Revenues are about $15,000 a year. The expenses are about $45,000 a year on average, kind of year over year. But that really doesn't include any upkeep and maintenance of the facility. We've done very minimal upkeep and maintenance. So in order to kind of evolve the Cultural Center and do that, you'd have to put more dollars into that. Talked about rental revenue. The office space, Chamber of Commerce, at no charge, has about 1,400 square feet, using as the Chamber of Commerce Visitors Bureau. Kind of did, a comparison. It's been the city's contribution to the chamber on an annual basis, along with, the cash that, we allocate, towards the Visitors Bureau. They also have that rent or that facility. Heat, electricity is covered by the city. I think they cover their own phones and cable Wi-Fi. Facility comparison, we went through that. I really struggled with that, because it's really, no straight comparison, and we have that chart provided to you in your packet on what the other facilities are throughout the community, and they're really all over the board. Tried to go back a little bit and take a look at, our rate structure. I think 3-4 years ago, we had a lot of separation. Like if you're renting the kitchen, we charged separately for the kitchen space. I think we consolidated that 2 or 3 years ago, just to make it easier. Facility is what it is. Here's what you're renting. Strategically, really, there's not a lot of staff time. The renting of the space is done, through, the Public Works Department. We don't do a lot of marketing. We haven't put together a fancy brochure to advertise, the space. We haven't put a lot of effort into it, through the downsizing, the economy, which we had to downsize our staff. I think we had 2 maintenance people at one time. One really spent, the majority of the time at the Cultural Center. We don't put that type of staff effort into it, these days, and it shows. And it's just been kind of the economy and things that we had to do at a staff level to help balance our budgets. Anything that goes in the Cultural Center is general fund, budget. Doesn't come from any other funds. It's, so it's all specifically focused on the general fund. the staff recommendations at this point is probably, on the fees, I'd just leave them where they're at. We recommended the 3% increase, to go through that process, bring back a resolution, probably cost us more in staff time than what we're going to get out of the cultural center this year. So I kind of recommend just leaving the fees, where they're at for this year. Have staff, let's put together more of a capital improvement plan for the cultural center. How do we, evolve this cultural center to that next phase? And we've struggled with that for years, apparently since 1994. Until we put that, plan in place and start putting some money into the center, nothing's going to happen. And we've also tossed it around, City Event Center, Crescent City Event Center, or branding it, having, possibly somebody out there that, would like to have naming rights to the event center, it could possibly assist us in getting some, dollars or infusion into the building, to update it and make it a little bit better for our community. Still a good facility, have a lot of events there. It's something to, the city can be proud of, but we do need to, do some focus, with more, I guess, investment into that facility.
Thank you. Comments, questions from Mr. Palazzo?
Well, I just want to thank you for this information. I wasn't aware that of a lot of the information that was in there, so I appreciate getting that. It occurs to me we really do have to get a direction of what we want to do with the building before we start spending a lot of money on it. And one function that has been floated around for a while is the need for a community theater of some kind. And I know LRT is working on the old cinema, but the problem with a community theater in that location, I think, is the acoustics are terrible. I didn't see any reference to acoustics of that particular big room, but I've watched people holding their ears when music's played there, and that would have to be corrected, and that would be a kind of a major fix, I think. But that's something, if we're going to use it very much more, that I think that acoustic issue and the flutter echoes and all those things that happen probably need to be corrected.
The acoustics are, something that would have to be addressed in that big picture, because it is something that is very difficult to hear.
Thank you.
I agree with Councilmember Hawley about to see what the capital improvement plan would be, but I was wondering, as we start our beachfront park improvements, if maybe we can incorporate some stuff with that, with the cultural center for some other uses maybe. When we do our whole master general, we've already done the plan for the park, but maybe it could be tied into that somehow. I don't know how, but.
Yeah. The cultural center is a great integral part of the park, just like the pool and Kids Town. It all kind of builds together. Yeah, I think the cultural center, it's like programming. The building's not making any money if it's sitting there vacant or not being used. Looking at the analysis, kind of interesting. It is rented during the week, weekends. But there's a lot of vacant days, that it could be utilized, and maybe it is something that there's I don't know, some organization that could maybe possibly utilize it, for a nominal fee during the week. The thing that we struggle with is it takes staff time, to go open it up, turn the heat on. If there's requirements to set up tables and chairs, that's some time to make that happen. If somebody just wants the open space and they go in and use it, for some sort of exercising or something like that, then there's not a lot of staff time that it would take to open that facility up.
And I did have a little idea that I ran by Jean earlier today. If there was one of the, there's a lot of exercise clubs here in town, and if we could combine like one of the exercise clubs that offers Zumba, and if there's a lot of government agencies that their staff work downtown, And if we could provide that space for a Zumba class to be offered at lunchtime without any charge, there's no setup and breakdown, then somebody brought their, like, boom box for the music, that somebody, if there was a way that somebody could be paid to offer the Zumba class, and then people could just drop in for that Zumba class when there wasn't something offered during the weekday. And that, and even tourists or, say, members of BID, for example, could drop in. That could be Health and All Policies, or what's the county program? I can't remember their healthy program. But, I mean, so that it could be utilized and people could start keeping it going, just to keep it on their radar, for example. So what Councilmember Ania was talking about, it being an extension of Beachfront Park. It's just an idea that, well, we're working on our Beachfront Park master plan. And then what I would like to see is maybe we have outdoor exercise programs once we get Beachfront Park redone too. I think a lot of places do that when it's feasible, and if it weren't weather feasible, then they could use the cultural center, which we've already gotten people used to the idea anyway. It's just a thought. So I don't know what other people think, but you know, if we could get a class going in there, there's no setup or breakdown for a Zumba class, say, I think it'd be kind of fun.
Are you volunteering?
To take the class, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Enscore?
I would, and I'm certainly in favor of trying to find ways to use the facility, and even if that means where we're allowing people to use it for something like that, that's kind of community oriented, that doesn't, it's not a, obviously it's not a revenue generating thing. Those are, but that to me is a secondary issue to the cultural center. That's trying to fill in and use it to its fullest, as opposed to defining why does it exist in the first place. As it exists now, over the last 4 years, we've allowed people to use it for free more times than we've had weddings in there. That so looking at this from the standpoint, and I agree with Councilmember Murray, I like the idea of using it in those capacities, but I think we need to look at it first of all as how do we use this facility as a revenue generating facility, given the fact that we know we have a negative cash flow with it right now. And we're going to continue to have a negative cash flow as long as we continue to give free office space to the chamber. I'm not saying I'm against that either, or the Visitor Bureau, because I think those things can produce revenue in a different way for our community as a whole. But it doesn't change the bottom line for our city budget. I mean, those are cost things. With that in mind, as we address what are we going to do at this facility, we need to take a hard look at the facility itself. And some of the information it was done 21 years ago. The elevator was identified 21 years ago as being an issue. It still is. Some of the architectural things that were issues were identified. The fact that we have a heating and cooling system that's not zoned in a over 12,000 square foot building, that some of that stuff is just unbelievable that we've lived with that. We have to look at all those things in a very difficult fashion. And the first thing we have to look at, and I realize this puts back on staff and it's a burden, but the facility is dirty. The facility needs to be cleaned, deep cleaned from the floor up. I mean, I've been to events in there and I look around because I'm always looking at stuff. City manager gets after me when we're walking around the public because I pick up stuff off the ground. He says, don't be picking that stuff up. You don't know who's that. I don't care. It bothers me. And I have to believe that that's going to continue to be a liability for us to try to generate interest in people using that facility when you look at the condition that it's in. And I don't know how you do that. Obviously, we don't have the money in the budget. It's a general fund item. But do we just keep pushing it down for another 20 years?
Well, that's not what I was saying, but.
Well, I know that's not what you're
Yeah.
saying, but that's what we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Zumba is not going to fix the problem. It
That
may be a
was-
great idea for the community.
That's not what I'm saying. You know, I would love to see us have a brand-new kitchen, because we're not going to generate funds until we get the repairs done.
Exactly.
We can't attract new businesses in there until we get the repairs done.
That's my
I'm
point.
talking about, in the meantime, while we're working on our capital improvement plan, we should be utilizing the facility. So there's two different things here.
And I agree, but it's not in the capital improvement plan.
We got to make one.
One doesn't exist. And we need to talk about that. I mean, if it doesn't exist, then it won't get done. Obviously, for 21 years, it hadn't fixed itself. I know we're going to get that beam fixed out there, which makes me nervous every time I walk underneath it. This year, it's in the budget, so I'm sure that's coming down the line at some point in time, going to get done. But even things like that, it doesn't build a sense of confidence in the community when they look at a facility and they look at it and go, well, yeah, it looks like it did the last time I was in here. That's why from my perspective, when we to talk about raising the rate, the fee structure was just untenable for me. When I look at the facility, the idea, we're losing the money anyway, and we've got to figure out how to put a stop to that at some point. And that may make tough questions even about looking at the office space and looking at the Chamber of Commerce and looking at all those things. It's not as if we don't also contribute to the Chamber of Commerce and the Visitor Bureau in not only by this gift in kind of the building space, but also through financial contributions every year. We just have to look at some of these hard questions about this facility, and I'm not sure we've done that yet. I'm with Councilmember Murray. We need a capital improvement plan to start really focusing on these things.
And you mentioned it briefly, Catherine, but I think a kitchen may be one of the places to start. The one need, maybe we need to identify needs within the community, but the one need that I've seen in the men's group I belonged to in the past was a space where you could have lunch and meetings. And those kinds of things get utilized pretty frequently if you have the right facility, but we can not even entertain that until we have a kitchen that's sufficient to serve them. So, I mean, maybe, I don't know who would do this. I know you're short-staffed, but somehow we need to find out what the community is looking at and if they would use a facility that was upgraded for that purpose, because those men's clubs and women's clubs meet weekly or bi-weekly, and so it would get a lot of utilization if we brought it up to code, or up to speed anyway. Okay.
And I think that's why Gene's bringing it to us tonight, is to ask us direction on, I do believe that we should have a capital improvement plan. We have one for all of our other areas, and I think it would behoove us to develop one. We've made some major improvements, but we need more to the cultural center. It is an icon, and everyone has some kind of a sentimental memory of something to do with the cultural center. So, and so it would be nice if we could, I would be in consent, if everyone else was in consent, I'd be in total agreement for developing a capital improvement, starting with the kitchen.
And we're going to do that after the public comment, but the mayor wants to make a few comments too.
Make a motion.
So, yeah, I mean, the Cultural Center is definitely the event center for Crescent City, and the options are, we do nothing, it deteriorates, we have to close it for safety reasons. Yep. So I'm going to put that one out there. If we don't do anything, it deteriorates till we can't use it anymore, and we have to close the Cultural Center down, tear it down, or just try to find a grant or something like that. Or we start thinking about the priorities and what we want to fix on it, cost savings issues, heating, the windows, everything, the weatherization, all that good stuff. Talk about who uses it. If we want to do minor improvements and get more tenants in there to start generating some revenue. So these are the discussions that we have to have, and I think the consensus of the council mainly is to have, unfortunately, with the little staff that we have, just start ticking off what we know about it, which we have this great report you guys put together here. What are the priorities you want? And I was thinking using our Facebook page to have a community survey. And maybe some of the media out there could help us out with that also, to a community survey of how they use the cultural center and what would the priorities they'd like to see as an improvement to start off with. Get a community discussion. Like we have the buckets for the master plan for the park. You know, hey, let's go buckets for kitchen, buckets for heating, buckets for sound system, projectors, all that good stuff. So let's make it a large community effort and get everybody involved and not put all the weight on the staff. And that is my comments. And now I will open it up to public comment, because this is something that's going to get some traction here. Because like I said, if we do not do anything and kick it down the road, it could be closing and we can be losing an event center and an icon in downtown Crescent City. So, is there any public comment on this issue for the Cultural Center?
You all know that I'm Joan Bueller, and I live outside the city now. Excuse me. I think that Rick Hawley has a wonderful idea, having a lot of experience with LRT. The acoustics in that place are terrible. It's like being in a hollow barn. And the louder you make your music, the worse you can hear. You can't hear speakers or anything. So that is one thing. The price has gone up for renting the place, at least it has for LRT. And the last I think we paid was about $700. That's more than we can afford. So we went to wherever else we can go, the Veterans Hall for one. But there's a lot of smoke there. It's not a good place. It's not clean either. But I think you're on the right track to go, and you're right to have a kitchen that's very, very vital for anybody that's going to use it. But my comment is, yes, don't let it go to rot. Don't let it go, because it is excuse me, it's a central point that people, it has been a place of prestige. If somebody wants to have a nice wedding, a nice reception, they say the Cultural Center. But the Cultural Center isn't what it used to be. So I would say, put your thinking caps on. And it's not easy to find money in this day and age, I know, because LRT's been trying to find it for a long time. But anyway, that's aside. But your acoustics are very, very important, and your kitchen. But don't let it go to waste, because it has always been a place of honor in the city. It wasn't, I know there were cuts made in the original plans when it was original planned, and it affected acoustics. It affected a lot of things that we don't have with it now, but keep it going.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the Cultural Center's fate? Not seeing any, we'll close public comment, come back. I guess I can speak for the council. We want a consensus. Basically, let's start looking into it seriously, see what staff suggestions are. Let's go out on our Facebook. I think I might be doing a program on KFUG on Fridays. I got your message. And we'll talk about things and get out in the public and see if we can't get some traction to get the Cultural Center up and running, and look for grants as usual. So.
I would also just
Please.
mention, Mr. Mayor, I think that it's a really good idea, something the city manager alluded to, of looking for the potential of somebody who might be interested in some kind of sponsorship. I know that we've always referred to it as the Cultural Center, but if we have maybe we have a local foundation that.
Petco Event Center at Beachfront Park.
Sure, that wasn't exactly where I was going with that, but that'll probably be safer to use as an illustration than mine would have been. But I just think that because of its prominence if you have someone that is willing to help with that, to provide that initial base funding to get some traction and get this started, because that's what we really need. And if it's not going to come with a grant, and we all know that that's going to take time. Grant funding, we're talking, if we start looking for grants now and try to find something for that, we're talking 2 to 3 years maybe out to find anything. Can we wait 2 or 3 more years? I don't know. I'm concerned about waiting that length of time. But man, if we could find that right organization, entity, foundation, whatever, that likes the idea of sharing the prominence with the cultural center, the event center, whatever it becomes, and provides us some resources to get started with this, I think that's a great place to start looking. I don't know how to do that. I just think we need to really examine that as best we can. Let's try to find that money.
You know, before we leave this, not too long ago, I went on a little mini vacation to Newport, Oregon, and I went into that tsunami museum that exists up there, and I think it's in conjunction with Oregon State. You know, they have displays about how tsunamis work, and they see the wave move about within the building, and it's really an impressive museum. And even if we lost some money on it, it would be good to have something like that and get some buy-in from others so that it would bring people in, because people know us as the tsunami center of the West Coast, and it'd be, what an ideal place to put some kind of an informational, educational facility. So just in the back of our minds, just think about that.
Okay. Good. All right. Anything we need to clarify for you, Mr. Palazzo?
What I'm hearing,
Okay.
and the direction that I have heard from the city council is to come back with a capital improvement plan for the cultural center, probably focus on kitchen amenities and facility first, possibly acoustics, and kind of work our way down the list from there. Take a look at some Facebook, some community engagement outreach on, what the community would like to see, what their, get the community involved in this, possibly go out to other different organizations and see if there's any sort of sponsorships that would like to participate within the cultural center. Did I miss anything? How about the name? I didn't hear anybody talk about the name.
Yeah, we'll let the sponsor who drops $20 million on us, we'll let them name it.
I like it.
Just one other thing, and maybe just as because I know that Mr. Weir has worked with a local organization, volunteer organization, from the standpoint of maybe a deep cleaning type of thing. I know we had a very successful partnership with the Just Serve, which is a volunteer organization that helped in the cleaning up of Kidstown, and did a fantastic job from everything I was told, that maybe if we could make a reach out to them if they would be interested in a community service project of willingness to come in and just help us scrub down and do some deep cleaning at the cultural center, just as an idea of, it would help our community to buy into that, hey, this is our cultural center and we're all coming to work together to clean this place up and look to the future.
And it's a great place for a barbecue after you're done.
And we can feed them on the back deck afterwards. Just a thought.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That ends our agenda items. Now we're on to city council items. Do we have any legislative matters? Mr. Palazzo.
I have no other legislative matters.
Any legislative matters up on the council? No? Okay, city manager report. Nope. All right. Reports, concerns, referrals, council travel. Mr. Inscore, why don't you start?
I'm just going to be real short. I was on vacation. I'm sorry I missed you all at our last meeting, but I had a good time away, and I appreciate the time off and that you guys all made sure that the city continued to operate at its optimum peak efficiency during my absence. I'm back to work. I know it was tough. I'm back to work, and our next meeting, I'm sure I'll have lots of exciting things to report that I have done.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mania.
I attended our Promote Our Pool meeting, our Sea Cruise meeting, and our Chamber Board meeting. A couple of things I wanted to bring up, not about the meetings, but I've noticed camping, especially behind Safeway and other places. I think we need to start enforcing our camping ordinance better. There's no camping at any time in our city. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and we brought it up before, and it's best to wait for the dog park, but people have been asking about having those doggy bags back at the park to clean up the messes from the dogs. I don't know how you feel about that, Mr. Plaza, if we ought to wait and incorporate that with our dog park.
Yeah, I think that's part of what we
Plan.
would incorporate, absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Hawley?
First, I want to say, I went out of town this last week, and in coming back and coming through town, I was very impressed with all the motels with no vacancy signs. I think that's a very good sign that despite all the allegations that we have a tremendous amount of blight, people seem to want to come here, and I think that's a good sign. Solid Waste Management Authority, we attended that on the 21st. You've read in the paper that we started discussions about how to respond to the grand jury report. That will be continuing in August. The Senior Center had a meeting, and as usual, we're dealing with budget issues, and we're getting through those issues. Also some organizational kinds of activities. We're taking a look at personnel policies and bylaws and all of that information that we really haven't been able to do since they started having difficulties. And on Wednesday, we're going to the stakeholders meeting for Last Chance Grade. So we'll be spending a day on Wednesday at that location, and we'll hopefully make some real headway on preferred alternatives. So thank you. That's all I have tonight.
All right, Ms. Murray.
Thank you. Let's see, I too attended the Del Norte Solid Waste Authority meeting on the 21st as an individual citizen. And I went on a tour with our city manager and Eric Taylor and Councilmember Ania on the 21st as well of the city. And then on the 22nd, I had a conference call with our Coastal Cities group. They're planning on having a joint meeting with the Coastal Commission and coastal counties. I think it's November 6th, if I can read my writing correctly, at Half Moon Bay to talk about the Coastal Commission's policy on sea level rise. And I'm hoping I may be able to attend that. The last time they had a joint meeting like that was 3 years ago in San Francisco, and I attended it, and it was a very valuable meeting. So it's pretty important to our community, and also the updates on local coastal plans. So yeah. So anyway, and then. I attended the farmers market this last Saturday, and our Assemblyman Jim Wood was there, and I think that's about it for me. And then the Last Chance Grade meeting on Wednesday, where I believe we'll make some more progress on maybe narrowing down the alternatives that we have for Last Chance Grade. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I had one more committee meeting. We had last week, we had that 2x2 with the county, and I met as part of the city, talking about the homeless and other things in our community, but mainly focusing on seeing what we can do about that. And we're continuing to meet.
Great. Let's see. I was on vacation in a couple of spots this last couple of weeks, but I did, before I left town, I went to the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority meeting. We had good discussion there. Then after I got back into town on Tuesday the 28th, I helped give the tsunami tours to a lot of the people who work with the national parks. And so I was taking park rangers around the city and telling them about the tsunami, which was really good. And they actually believed what I said. So that was the good part there. So, if you say it with authority, it works. So, and then I went up into the hills on the 29th and hiked to the Punch Bowl, Devil Punch Bowl, and I do not recommend that hike to anybody in their life. I took lots of pictures, so if you ever think you're going to go there, just talk to me, and I'll give you the pictures, and you don't have to go. And so I'm a little slow and tired right now, and so recovering from that. But when you're talking about Kids Day and spending time with the kids, well, this is my daughter, and luckily she was with me because she's the one who basically hauled out a lot of my gear to make sure that make me survive to get out of there. So it was a good experience, very, very bonding experience to be saved by your daughter on a death hike. So, and that's all I have to report. And with that, we will adjourn to our next regular scheduled meeting on August 17th, 2015. And thank you very much.